how to knit a chunky blanket in the bubble stitch. Hi, I'm Kristen and welcome back to my channel, Studio Knit. Design your own three-dimensional cozy afghan with custom color changes. For our knitting supplies, we're using bulky weight yarn number 6. I have Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick. I have links in the description below for you. I like that it is a wool and acrylic blend, so it has the warmth and softness of wool and the easy care and washability of acrylic. Once you choose your yarn colors, you'll also want a circular needle, and the size is 11 US. Your length will depend on the blanket size you choose. You'll also want to have scissors and a tapestry needle. Blocking mats and T-pins are optional. I always like blocking my work, but this blanket does look great straight off the needles. You can knit this blanket up in 6 different sizes, from the smallest little Lovey, and then we have a baby stroller size. Next is a receiving blanket, a lapgan, a throw, and the largest is a twin bedspread size. Once you've decided which size you would like to knit up, I have the yarn amounts that you'll need for each in the written pattern. The pattern is available totally for free. All of the written instructions are on my Studio Knit website. I also have this downloadable PDF in my Studio Knit shop that is available for purchase, and I will have the links to both of those down below, so make sure to check those out today. So let's knit it up. Step 1 is casting on. My example here is going to be the baby stroller size, so I am casting on 39 stitches, just using the basic long tail cast on method. We're knitting our blanket flat, but using a circular needle because it's ideal to easily hold all of our stitches. I'm also using a smaller size needle than the yarn recommends so that we're knitting a tighter weave so the bubble texture will really pop. Step 2 is knitting the lower border rows, and that is simply 5 rows of the garter stitch. We are knitting every single stitch for 5 rows. And here's how it's looking on our circular needle. And it is time to knit up that beautiful bubble blanket pattern. So step 3, we are going to be knitting rows 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very, very simple. You can see this first row, row 1, it's knitting 4 stitches, and then I'm choosing to put a little stitch marker here because it helps me remember where the borders are on either side of our blanket, but that's totally optional. Then we're bringing our yarn to the front and purling all. You'll notice that row 1 is beginning on the wrong side of our work, and we're purling all stitches until we reach the final 4 stitches. And then we are going to be knitting 4 stitches for the other side of the blanket on that border right there. So I'm adding a little stitch marker and just knitting the last 4 stitches. And this is the stockinette stitch that we're knitting up. Rows 2 and 4 are just knitting all of our stitches, and rows 3 and 5 are identical to row 1. So once you've knitted the first 5 rows of the bubble blanket pattern, it is time to switch yarn colors. Now that is only if you are choosing to change yarn colors on every single bubble like I am here on this blue and white example. We're knitting 4 stitches of the border, and then it is the repeat pattern for the bubble stitch. So it's knitting 3 stitches, that's K3. And then we go into K4B, that is knit 4 below. You are intentionally taking that stitch off the needle and dropping 4 stitches. Then we are inserting our right needle into that stitch and bringing our yarn around and knitting it through. I also have a video detailing the knit 4 below if you'd like a little bit more practice with it. No need to rewind. We are going to be doing the K4B one more time. Rows 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Again, it's just the stockinette stitch. And on row 12, if you'd like to change your yarn color, do so before row 12. So the repeat is a little bit different. We are knitting 5 stitches, that's including the border, and then we're going straight into K4B. So we are intentionally dropping those 4 stitches, inserting the tip of our right needle straight into that stitch, knitting it through, and continuing on K4B, K3, until our last 6 stitches where we have one last K4B and 5 knit stitches, which is including the border. So here are the 12 rows of the bubble stitch pattern, and you can see that beautiful texture, the bobbling bubble stitch immediately appearing. And just continue knitting these 12 rows until your blanket is the length you desire. Here on step 4, we are just finishing up by knitting those upper border rows, just like we did on the lower border rows. We are knitting 5 rows of the garter stitch, which is simply knitting all stitches for 5 rows. And then it's time to cast off. I'm just doing the basic cast off, trying to do it a little bit loosely so that it's not too tight. And step 6 is finishing our work. So we cut our yarn using our tapestry needle, weave that little yarn end through. If you'd like, you can wet block your work. I just think that it makes the blanket have a really nice shape, and it looks great if you're photographing it. And then weave in your yarn ends. Of course, if you have been changing yarn color, you will have lots of fun yarn ends to go ahead and weave through. If you love the bubble stitch texture and would like to knit up more projects, I also have this great bubble beanie hat pattern. It's super popular. This pattern has also been featured in the book Heads Up Knit Hats. It's a printed book. I do have it available for purchase to those who are residing in the United States in my Studio Knit shop, and it is among 12 on-trend designs. So you can have a lot of fun knitting up different hats from this book. Another great bubble stitch project is my heart pillow. This is a really easy pattern. You just knit it up in the bubble stitch and use some polyfill to stuff it for that heart shape. And I hope you are inspired to knit up this cozy bubble stitch blanket with confidence in your next knitting project. Again, I have all of the written information over on my website totally for free. And if you'd like to download that printable PDF, that's available for purchase in my Studio Knit shop. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you here next time. Bye!